In the next 48 hours, the most important window of this entire year opens and closes, and most people will walk right through it without realizing what they have just lost. What happened on March 3rd was not an ordinary full moon. It was a total lunar eclipse at 12 degrees of Virgo, the last total lunar eclipse the sky will produce for nearly 3 years. For 58 minutes, the Earth swallowed the moon whole and turned it the color of old blood. And in that hour, something inside you was shaken loose. You felt it. That strange heaviness behind your ribs. The 3 a.m. awakening. The face that flashed through your mind that you have not thought about in years. But here is what almost no one is telling you. The eclipse itself was not the main event. The real shift happens now, March 4th and 5th. These 48 hours are the corridor between who you were and who you are about to become. And there are things you must not do in this corridor. Decisions you must not make, words you must not speak, because the ground beneath your feet has not yet settled. In the next few minutes, you will discover 3 things. First, what the eclipse actually loosened inside your body and your life, and why you can still feel it vibrating in your bones. Second, the specific actions you must avoid on March 4th and 5th, and why even one wrong move in this window could set you back months. Third, and this is the part that changes everything, the ancient practice of conscious release that turns this cosmic disruption into the most powerful reset you have experienced in years. If you have been feeling like something is ending, but you cannot name what it is, if your sleep has been fractured and your dreams unusually vivid, if old memories are surfacing like shipwrecks after a storm, stay here. Because what I am about to share with you is not something you will hear anywhere else. And the clock on this window is already running. In the early hours of March 3rd, while most of the Western Hemisphere slept, the Earth stepped between the Sun and the Moon and cast its shadow across the lunar surface for 58 minutes. This was not a partial graze. This was not a subtle dimming. The Moon disappeared entirely into the umbra, the deepest core of Earth's shadow, and emerged stained the color of dried copper. A total lunar eclipse at 12 degrees and 54 minutes of Virgo, sitting directly on the south node of the moon, the celestial point that ancient astrologers called the dragon's tail, the point of release, the point of severance, the point where the cosmos reaches into your life and pulls away what no longer belongs to you. Not gently, not with warning, with the quiet, surgical certainty of a tide that knows exactly what it came to collect. And this was not just any eclipse in the sky's long memory. This was the 5th eclipse in a series of 7 along the Virgo-Pisces axis, a cycle stretching nearly 2.5 years that has been rewriting the contract between your daily reality and your spiritual truth. Every eclipse in this series has asked you a question. This one demanded an answer. But here is where most people misunderstand eclipses. They think the moment of totality is the moment of transformation. They think when the moon turns red, the shift is happening. That is like believing the earthquake is the moment the tectonic plates move. It is not. The plates have been grinding for months, sometimes years. The earthquake is simply when the surface finally cracks. March 3rd was the crack. March 4th and 5th are when the dust rises and you see for the first time what is actually broken. Right now, as you listen to this, Mercury is retrograde in Pisces. The planet that governs your thoughts, your contracts, your conversations, your decisions, is walking backward through the most dissolving sign in the zodiac. And Mars, the planet of action, entered Pisces on March 2nd, just 1 day before the eclipse. Think about what that means. The planet that rules how you act and the planet that rules how you think are both submerged in the same ocean, both moving through fog, both whispering to you that clarity is available when it is not yet. And this is the dangerous part, because fog does not announce itself. It simply makes everything look softer than it actually is. This is exactly why March 4th and 5th are so dangerous for certain decisions. Your impulse right now is to act. The eclipse shook something loose and every cell in your body wants to grab it, name it, fix it, or throw it away. That impulse feels like strength. It feels like clarity, but it is neither. It is the aftershock disguised as resolution. There are specific things you must not do in this 48-hour window, and I need you to hear this carefully. Do not end a relationship. Do not start one. The emotional field around you right now is flooded with eclipse residue, and what you feel about another person today is not what you will feel about them in 2 weeks. The moon has moved into Libra, the sign of partnerships and balance. But Libra, after an eclipse, is not the diplomat it usually is. It is the mirror. And mirrors in unstable light show distorted reflections. If someone's face keeps appearing in your mind, whether with longing or with rage, that is the eclipse talking, not your wisdom. Write the name down, fold the paper, put it somewhere you will not see it, and wait. Do not sign anything. Do not commit to a new contract, a new lease, a new agreement. Mercury retrograde in Pisces has blurred the fine print so thoroughly that what looks like an open door may be a painted wall. The details you are missing right now are not small details. They are the kind that resurface in 3 months and make you whisper to yourself, "How did I not see this?" Do not make a permanent decision about your career. The eclipse fell in Virgo, the sign that governs your work, your daily rituals, your sense of purpose through service. If you have been feeling restless in your job, if you have been questioning whether this is really what you are meant to do, that restlessness is real. It is valid. But the answer is not available yet. The eclipse cracked the surface. What lies beneath has not yet been fully revealed. Acting now is like reading a letter before the ink has dried. You will see words, but they will not be the right ones. Wait for the ink to set. The message will be worth the patience. And do not, under any circumstances, try to go back to something you have already released. This is the trap that catches more people than any other during a South Node eclipse. The dragon's tail does not give back what it has taken. If a habit fell away, if a belief crumbled, if a version of yourself died in the last 72 hours, it died for a reason. The temptation to resurrect it will be overwhelming. You will convince yourself it was not that bad. You will remember the comfort and forget the cost. But the South Node is not cruel. It is precise. What it removes was already dead. You were simply still carrying the weight of its bones. Now let me tell you what is actually happening inside your body, because your body understood this eclipse long before your mind caught up. In the days surrounding a total lunar eclipse on the South Node, the body begins a process that ancient healers described as the loosening of old roots. You may have noticed a heaviness in your chest that has no medical explanation, a tightness in your jaw that arrives at night and disappears by morning, a sudden ache in your lower back, the part of the spine that carries the weight of everything you refuse to put down. These are not random symptoms. Your nervous system is responding to a gravitational and electromagnetic shift that modern science measures, but rarely discusses in public. During totality, when the moon sat entirely inside Earth's shadow, the tidal electromagnetic interaction between the moon and the Earth's ionosphere shifted in a way that happens only during total eclipses. Your body, which is mostly water, which is governed by the same tidal forces that move the oceans, responded. Not metaphorically, physically. The fluid in your inner ear shifted. Your pineal gland, the tiny pine cone-shaped organ at the center of your brain that regulates your sleep cycle, received a different signal. And for many of you, the result was the same. You woke up between 2 and 4 in the morning. You stared at the ceiling, and something inside you knew, without words, without logic, that a chapter had ended. That knowing is the most important thing you have right now, more important than any decision, more important than any action. Because that knowing is not coming from your thoughts. It is coming from somewhere much older, much deeper, from the part of you that existed before you learned to doubt yourself. But the eclipse did not just loosen what needs to leave. It also illuminated what has been hiding. And this is where March 4th and 5th become not just a warning, but a gift. The Virgo eclipse did not simply shake the tree. It turned a light on inside the roots. And what that light revealed is something you have been avoiding, perhaps for months, perhaps for years. The thing you keep telling yourself you have dealt with. The conversation you rehearse in your mind but never speak aloud. The promise you made to yourself at 3 in the morning 6 months ago that you quietly broke by sunrise. Virgo is the sign of discernment. Not judgment, discernment. There is a vast difference. Judgment closes its eyes and declares a verdict. Discernment opens its eyes wider and sees what is actually there. And at 12 degrees of Virgo, conjunct the South Node, this eclipse opened your eyes to the precise spot where you have been lying to yourself with the most beautiful language. We all do it. We wrap our avoidance in words like patience. We call our fear wisdom. We dress our stagnation in the robes of spiritual surrender and tell ourselves we are waiting for divine timing, when the truth is we are terrified of what happens if we actually move. This eclipse saw through every costume. And now, in this 48-hour corridor of March 4th and 5th, the costumes are lying on the floor, and you are standing in front of a mirror with nowhere to hide. This is uncomfortable. It should be. Comfort was never the currency of transformation. The ancient Babylonian astronomers, who tracked eclipses with a precision that still astonishes modern scholars, had a practice during eclipse aftermaths that has been largely forgotten. They called it the silent audit. For 2 days following a major lunar eclipse, the temple priests would enter a period of complete stillness. No decrees were issued, no wars were declared, no marriages were arranged. Not because they feared the sky, but because they understood something that our rushing, noise-filled world has forgotten. The hours after an eclipse are when the truth speaks. But it speaks in a whisper, and you cannot hear a whisper if you are shouting. They knew that stillness was not the absence of power, it was the condition for receiving it. This is your silent audit. These 48 hours are not a pause because you are weak. They are a pause because you are wise enough to listen before you leap. So what is the eclipse asking you to release? Not in general terms, not as a philosophical concept. Specifically, in the bones of your daily life. For those of you with strong Virgo energy in your chart, whether your sun, your rising, or your moon sits in this sign, the eclipse landed directly on your sense of self. The mask you have been wearing is not the kind others can see. It is the mask you wear for yourself. The relentless inner voice that says you must be perfect to be worthy, that every detail must be controlled, that one mistake erases 100 victories. That voice took a direct hit on March 3rd, and right now it is scrambling to reassemble itself. Do not help it. Let it stay on the floor. You were never meant to live under that tyranny. For Pisces, the eclipse illuminated the opposite point of your chart, the axis of service and surrender. You have been giving so much of yourself to others that you have forgotten what your own hunger feels like. Not physical hunger, soul hunger. The kind that asks, what do I actually want when no one is watching, when no one needs me, when I am not performing my own goodness? This eclipse is not punishing your generosity. It is asking you to include yourself in the circle of people you are willing to save. Gemini and Sagittarius, the other mutable signs, are caught in the crossfire of this axis. For Gemini, the eclipse pressed on your 4th house, the foundation of your inner world. Something about your home, your roots, your family lineage is being restructured, not destroyed, restructured. The difference matters. A wall coming down inside an old house is only a disaster if you were planning to live in it forever. If you were planning to rebuild, that wall needed to come down first. For Sagittarius, the eclipse activated your 10th house, the peak of your public life and ambition. A role you have been playing in the world is expiring, not your purpose, the role. And the space between who you pretend to be professionally and who you actually are has become too wide for the universe to ignore. Something must close that gap, and it will not be the universe that bends. But here is the part that transforms this eclipse from a disruption into a doorway. The moon, after passing through the shadow, did not stay in Virgo. It moved forward. And on March 4th, it crossed into Libra, the sign of the scales, the sign of balance, the sign that asks one elegant and devastating question. What is the true weight of what you are carrying, and is it yours to carry it all? This is not a rhetorical question. I want you to sit with it as if someone placed a stone in each of your hands and asked you to tell the difference between the one that belongs to you and the one that was handed to you by someone else's expectation. Because many of you are carrying grief that is not yours, ambition that is not yours, guilt that was placed on your shoulders before you were old enough to spell the word. The Libra moon on March 4th is the cosmic scale that helps you weigh each stone and decide, with full authority, which ones to set down. And the moon does not stop there. By March 5th, it begins to square Jupiter in Cancer, the planet of expansion sitting in the sign of emotional depth and ancestral memory. This square is not gentle. It stretches you. It asks whether the beliefs you inherited from your family, the ones woven so deeply into your identity that you mistake them for your own thoughts, are actually serving the life you are trying to build. Jupiter in Cancer has been retrograde since November, turning inward, digging through the emotional basement of your lineage. And now, just days before it stations direct on March 10th, it sends one final tremor through the foundation. If something cracks, it was already fractured. Jupiter does not break what is whole. It only reveals what was pretending to be. And sometimes, that revelation is the most generous thing the sky can offer you. This is why I said at the beginning that March 4th and 5th are not just about what you must avoid. They are about what you must finally see. Here is what I want you to do. Not tomorrow, not next week, tonight. Before you sleep, before the noise of the ordinary world fills your ears again, take a single piece of paper, not a device, not a glowing surface, a real piece of paper. Feel its weight between your fingers, and write one sentence. Only one. Begin it with the words, "The truth I have been avoiding is," and then let your hand finish the sentence without editing, without thinking, without making it beautiful. Whatever comes out, do not read it tonight. Fold the paper once, place it somewhere still, beside your bed, beneath a glass of water, on a windowsill where the morning light will reach it. Sleep. Let the eclipse residue continue its work inside your dreaming mind. And when you wake on March 5th, read what you wrote. Read it slowly. Read it the way you would read a letter from someone who loves you enough to tell you the truth. That sentence is the seed of everything that comes next. Because what the eclipse loosened, only you can release. The cosmos cracked the door, but you are the one who walks through. Now, there is a practice for this window, a way to move through these 48 hours not as a victim of cosmic disruption, but as someone who understands the ancient art of conscious release. And this practice is built on a very specific structure, one day at a time, one layer at a time. Because the body cannot release everything at once, any more than the earth can thaw in a single afternoon. On the night of March 5th, when the last tremor of this eclipse has passed through your chest and settled into the quiet spaces between your ribs, you will feel something you have not felt in a very long time. Not excitement, not relief, something older than both. A stillness that does not need to be filled, a silence that is not empty, but complete. This is what remains when you stop carrying what was never yours. This is the sound of a life that has been stripped back to its truest architecture. No ornament, no disguise, just the raw, breathing foundation of who you actually are. Most people will move through these 48 hours without pausing. They will check their messages. They will make decisions from fear dressed as urgency. They will pick up the very stones the eclipse asked them to set down and tuck them back into their pockets, because the weight has become so familiar it feels like safety. Do not be most people. You did not find this video by accident. Something in you recognized the signal before your mind could name it. The eclipse asked you one question. Not what do you want, not where are you going, but what are you finally willing to put down? That question will echo through the rest of this year. It will tap you on the shoulder in your quietest moments, when the world has gone still enough for truth to speak without competition. And the answer you give, not in words but in action, will determine which version of your life you are living by December. Remember this. The heaviest chains are not the ones others place on you. They are the ones you refuse to remove because you have forgotten they are not part of your body. If something moved inside you while you listened, write it in the comments. Not for me, for the stranger who will scroll down tonight and find in your words the exact permission they needed to let go. If someone's face came to mind, someone who is carrying weight they cannot name, send them this video. It may be the only mirror they see this week. Subscribe and turn on notifications, because in the coming days I will walk you through the deep integration process this eclipse has set in motion, and what I will share with you about the post-eclipse window will reshape how you move through the rest of this month. Every video takes hours of research and preparation, and your like, your comment, your share is what keeps this work alive. The universe has spoken. What comes next is in your hands.